Welcome everyone. In this video we are going to analyze a situation from a pro game, and then we are going to write a game report and learn about how to write a proper game report. This is something that you will need to be practicing to be complete for your class. So first let's watch a video, and this is going to take place, we're going to use the date of November 1st, 2020 just as a time, but it is actually going to be from previous years. So let's watch this together. So as you noticed in the clip, there was something that happened where the referee cautioned a player for a misconduct. So the first thing that you need to do is in your game, if you have any misconduct, you need to know that you have to write a game report for this. This goes to the state, this goes to the clubs, this goes to your assigner. It's very important that we discipline players when they commit misconduct, whether that be through foul, through language, or any other way. So the first thing that I would do when you get home after writing or after your game, you know the situation occurred, you're going to want to have the laws of the game open. A lot of you probably already have the app on your phone, which is a free app, but otherwise you can access it through the internet, and it's simply under Google. It's called IFAB. Then you're going to want to go to the fouls and misconduct, which is going to be one of the options. The reason you want to have this one open is because you want to know what the cautionable offenses are and some of the specific wording. When we write a game report, specific is important. So notice that there are certain cautionable offenses. Most of these you'll probably encounter throughout your career. There are a couple that we've talked about in classes that you might never see. For example, anything to do with the VAR area, there's a good chance you might not. We hope in the state of Wisconsin that someday you do get that opportunity, because it is an incredible opportunity and means you're doing a pretty high level game. But otherwise, make sure you look through these and decide which one you are going to write up in your report. So the second thing that I would suggest everyone doing is create a document. A document is something that you are going to save for future reference just in case you need it. That could be through a phone call from an assigner or from someone from the state. That could be from the club. Yes, it is accessible through game officials, but it's good to keep a copy for yourself. I always do this for every single report I write. Then I would title it with the date that it is on and the teams, because sometimes, and many of you, will have 3 or 4 games in a day, which means you could have multiple cautions. If this is the case, I would strongly suggest after the game writing down what happened for that game so you don't forget in the next game. And it can be very simple who it was. You can even write it on the rosters that are given to you, and then a quick synopsis of what happened. Now, when actually writing a game report, there are a couple of things that you need to think about. First of all, there are only a specific set of facts that you need to share. And we're going to go through each one of these in this instance, but there are some of these that we don't want to do. Now, the first thing, who committed the foul or who committed the misconduct? This is very important. The what happened on the field, and this is where you're going to use specific language from the laws of the game, as well as some other terms that we use to differentiate between a send-off or a caution. So what is also important. The next one, where on the field did this take place? It's important. The next one, when in the game did it take place? Usually there'll be a specific time that you want to write down. The next one is how. How did it take place? We're not asking you to tell us what you think. We're asking for facts. So how is very, very important. And again, this is where we're going to use some of that specific terminology. The last one here, why, that is the one where we actually don't want you to tell us, because it is not your opinion why a player did something. All you are conveying is the information that they did it. So I am going to completely erase this one. So we have who, what, where, when, and how. Now, the other big things to remember are, again, the specific language, and we're going to use careless, reckless, or excessive force. You need to differentiate between those 3. All of you should know from your first course ever which one is which. Careless is associated with a common foul, reckless would be a caution, and excessive force is going to be a send-off. You also need to use your IFAB laws of the game, so you use that specific language. You need to be precise and concise. That's the big one that we all struggle with. We want to write these elaborate stories when really all the people that are looking for the disciplinary action are looking for are specific information. That could sometimes include verbiage that is used, which means words that were used. Sometimes it's even simpler than that. The last thing, and I want to remind this to everyone, I'm going to remind 100 times, is do not include any opinions. We don't want an opinion. We don't want to know what you think or why you think something happened. We want to know exactly what happened. So the higher ups, I'm going to use quotation marks with that, the people that are making decisions with disciplinary action can decide based on the facts. So let's write a quick game report that has to do with the scenario that we just witnessed. So let's start out by using our kind of rough draft here. So who committed the misconduct? And I'm going to write the name on my Jamboard here as you are looking at that picture, but it is Nicolas de la Cruz. So that is our who. So I wrote that down here. So I have that in the back of my head. And you could even create something like this on a piece of paper after the game so that you know the information, especially if you have that second or third game that day. The next question is the what. What happened? So that player used, and he got a caution. So we're going to go to our next page here and see which one is caution, and that is the reckless. So he used reckless force and I'm going to put a dash there because then we're going to go to our IFAB laws of the game and decide what he did. Used reckless force when tackling an opponent, and this would be what I would be considered unsporting behavior. And I used some abbreviations in my writing because remember, this is a rough draft. So I wrote, used reckless force when tackling, and this is unsporting behavior. So I have some information there. Again, it's all factual. Used reckless force, it's one of the 3 levels of force. He tackled, that was the foul. Remember, there are different fouls. Most of them are words that end in ing. And then I decided it was unsporting behavior that this player committed this foul. Now, where on the field did it occur? We're going to go back to this, and I am going to kind of play us back here. Most of you probably remember. We'll just put it to here. It occurred near midfield. So it's important that we have the location on the field as a fact. Then when? Most of you noticed it was in the 111th minute. So this is in a long game, but it is in the 111th minute. So that's important. And how, again, we're going to kind of go back to what happened. The how and what are very much interrelated. He tackled a player using reckless force, and he was cautioned for unsporting behavior. So now we can go over to our actual game report and we can start writing. So I am basically going to list what happened in that order. So Nicholas, actually we're going to write it like this. In the 111th minute of the game, Nicolas de la Cruz of AIN committed a reckless tackle near midfield. He was shown a caution for unsporting behavior and sorry, I'm trying to type and think at the same time. He was shown a caution for unsporting behavior. There were no further incidents, and the game continued. So notice how I didn't add anything other than fact. So in the 111th minute of the game, Nicolas de la Cruz of AIN committed a reckless tackle near midfield. He was shown a caution for unsporting behavior. There were no further incidents, and the game continued. Now keep in mind that if something sparks, if something else happens, if words are spoken after the caution is shown, you can absolutely add that verbiage, but you have to be specific. The big thing about this is there's no opinion, and you're using as specific information as you can so that the people who make decisions can see exactly what happened. Remember, know why. Don't tell us why. Don't tell us what you think. Only tell us facts.